Hi, my name is Jarissa Mendez. I am a first generation student here at RCCC. I'm getting my associates in arts. My anticipated graduation date is May of 2023. I am a Salvadoran Guatemalan Latin woman and a non-traditional student.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Raymond. I am Black, and my graduation date is December of 2022, so next month.
What's your major?
And my major is Associates in Arts.
Hi, my name is Nadine Dunn. I am studying for my associates in science and healthcare management technology. My graduation date is May 2023, and I am mixed race.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Haywood Hayes. I'm part of the Associates of Arts program. My expected graduation date is December of 2022, so the next month. And I identify as African-American male.
Dr. Warren, you're muted.
Thank you. I got caught in the Zoom University. What I was saying is my name is Dr. Warren, and I'm the Director of Recruitment and Retention here at Rowan-Cabarrus Community College.
And I'm Barb Meidl. I'm the Director of Student Life and Leadership here at Rowan-Cabarrus.
Okay, so do it for the culture. What does that mean? So culturally responsive engagement is an asset-based approach to engaging with students that helps develop a closer fit between the student's culture and the faculty and or staff engagement style. And so it uses cultural characteristics, cultural experiences, and cultural perspectives of race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status of diverse students that merge together and allow for students, faculty, and staff to develop an engaging relationship that is positive, supportive, purposeful, and intentional. A faculty or staff member that has an asset mindset recognizes the resources, the knowledge, and the experiences that our students already have and bring those and recognizes those and highlights those to empower students to meet their educational and career goals.
So I want to share a little bit about why we pulled this student panel together. As the Director of Student Life and Leadership, I know that how I meet students where they are and take them where they need to go is dependent on building relationships with them. And so I'm going to give an experience from when I first started as a student activities coordinator 9 years ago. I had a student who I simply asked to do what I thought was a standard behavior, which was to stand up at a welcoming session and talk to other students as they came in. And it didn't go as I had anticipated. And in fact, it felt really uncomfortable and it was not a good experience for me. So I went back and I asked my supervisor and mentor, what can I do? This is what has happened. Now what's next? And I was told, go fix it. You need to go make that right. And you need to have that conversation with the student. So when I went back to the student, first, it's very awkward and uncomfortable, right? For any of us to have conversations that don't feel good. And I had to acknowledge it didn't feel good for me and it probably didn't feel good for her. And when we sat down and had the conversation, I realized that she very likely, based on our conversation, had not had a good experience with someone of my age and ethnicity. And because of that, she was responding differently. And I also was not having a good experience. And so in coming together in that conversation, I realized that all of us react and move differently in our worlds based on the experiences that we have. And that day forward, that student has lived in my mind whenever I'm doing programming or thinking about what we can do to meet students where they are, because we have to be thinking about the different cultures, the different family cultures, the area cultures. I'm from Wisconsin, Oshkosh, beer, brats, and the Packers. And that looks very different when you move down to Pantherville in, North Carolina. That conversation allowed me to know that I needed to be comfortable having the conversations with students, because that was the only way we are going to build community that was going to be engaging and supportive of our students.
So now we're going to get into the student panel discussion with our 4 wonderful students here. And so the first question that I'm going to ask is going to go to Ms. Mendez. And that question is, in today's society, what do you see as the value of having a college experience? And then why should people go to college?
Hey, thank you for the question. I think in today's society, what I see the value of having the college experience is you're getting enriched in education, especially being someone of Latin roots and first generation. You don't see that. And just seeing how much it opens doors for you and allows you to grow. It's so important just to get those doors open for yourself. And like I said, I didn't see that in my family. So I am thinking like I'm breaking barriers here, and I want to make sure I can send this knowledge or kind of pass this knowledge to my children and generations to come. And then why should people go to college? I really think it's just the same thing. We're heading into the fact that we need to make a difference. We need to be the difference. Okay, maybe our family members couldn't, but I chose to stand up for as a first gen and say, I want to go ahead and go to college and make sure to further my education so I can give my children and my future generations a better living. And it's an awesome opportunity to grow, especially at RCCC. I can see what a great experience it has been for me. And just thinking that it was not attainable, and having multiple people from this school just say, hey, listen, let's sit down, let's talk about this. This is the route you need to take. Just having those leaders in my life have really molded me and shaped me into the person that I am today.
Great. I have a follow-up question for you. What would you tell your children about your college experience?
I would say it's wonderful. I am a non-traditional student, which it's crazy, but I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I would let them know, listen, it's fun. You learn so much. You think you've stopped learning, and then you learn something new and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. So it's always a nice enrichment type.
Great, thank you. Now we're going to pass the baton to Mr. Banks. Mr. Banks, you have the next question. So when you think of culturally relevant spaces, what kind of situations have you been in where you may have been misunderstood?
Everybody, Dr. Warren, that's a great question, and I have 2 experiences. One was virtual. So I took African American History 2 in spring of this year, actually, so January through May. And one of the questions towards the middle/end of the course, it was a discussion board, and it was talking about slavery. And if we know anything about slavery, after 1865, they were freed, and they had to live under Black Code during the Reconstruction era. Now, in the discussion board, I put, even though they were free, they were still mentally and somewhat physically still enslaved. Now, the teacher, she's not Black, but that's okay. But she responded with, so are you saying that they moms would not have been freed then? I said, no. Well, I didn't respond to her. But when I told, my girlfriend and my family, I said to them, no, was not thinking that at all. But because the class was virtual, we weren't able to have a one-on-one conversation. And when you see things that are through text, you can either read it bluntly or not read it at all. There's no verbal codes, there's no argument, there's nothing, there's no emotion in it really. So her and I both took both messages like very literal, basically. And I knew if I took the class in person, we could have had a discussion about it. It would have been tension, but we could have calmed everything down and see where we were both coming from. So I was misunderstood right there, but hey. Now, one recently happened in August or September when I was a student brand ambassador for the students, well, the online bookstore, Academos. And for some reason, the job, it was not paying me. They promised to pay every 2 weeks, and I was not getting paid. I had to wait about a month. And during that time, I had to realize, how am I going to resolve this issue? I didn't want to come off as angry, aggressive, because hey, the voice doesn't help. I'm tall, I already have the hair that fits the stereotype. I didn't want to come off as aggressive. So I actually went downstairs and I was in the student lounge and someone told me, hey, go ahead and ask Miss Meidl that's on the panel. And as soon as Miss Meidl sent, my supervisor email, I got paid 30 minutes later. I kept getting the runaround for a good month saying, the financial department's gonna work on it. And internally it was bothering me because I wasn't getting paid. I wasn't getting any money. And I was taking it out on everybody else, didn't know what to do. So I did not want to be an angry Black person. It's stereotyped a lot in shows and everything. So that kind of did eat me up. But Miss Meidl, she handled it well. And yeah, that's really all I got, sadly.
So it sounds like you found your support system that was able to communicate in a different way, kind of your areas of frustration and things that you needed to get accomplished.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you, Raymond. Ms. Dunn, we're going to hand you the same question. I'll read it again for you. So the question is, when you think of culturally relevant spaces, what kinds of situations have you been in where you may have been misunderstood?
For me, it's only one situation that I vaguely remember. I don't exactly remember what happened, what took place, but I remember how it made me feel. A staff member and I had a misunderstanding, or maybe I was misunderstood when speaking with that staff member. The end result I remember was, with the help of superiors and other staff members, we agreed to disagree. However, I do remember feeling like there was either some type of power struggle. I started questioning myself. Was it something that I did wrong? Did it have something to do with the fact that we were of different age groups? We came from different backgrounds. We were different races, or whatever the case may be. So anything could have been the cause of it. I just didn't know why it actually happened. But I was glad that we came to a resolution. I was glad that I was able to go to other people that were supportive of me and kind of get that situated and cleared away.
Okay, great. It sounds like that was a unique experience for you, because I know you personally, and you're a very strong, independent woman. So I have a follow-up question for you. When you felt uncomfortable, okay, what support systems did you have around you to help you kind of process your emotions? Yes. Yeah, so my question is when you felt uncomfortable in that situation with that faculty and or staff member, how did you process it? What support systems did you have to help you process those emotions to get to a better spot?
Well, I spoke with yourself. I also spoke with Miss Tamara, who's no longer with us. You guys did a very great job at, I don't know, I guess putting me at ease. I've always talked to you all, so it was easier to express my standpoint and speak on what I felt was going on. I didn't initially, before all of that, I didn't think there was an issue. So for something to be presented to me as an issue, I was kind of confused. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am, you did. Thank you for that. We're going to move on to Mr. Haynes. Mr. Haynes, you have the next question. How would you encourage faculty and staff and the college environment to better assist historically underrepresented students in the future?
You know, one thing you have to be cognizant of is the environment that you're in, and that we are in the environment of education, of school. And so because of that, of being cognizant of that, we have to remember that though these young minds that are coming are students, at the end of the day, they're also still people. And that if we're going to represent these students and get to know these students who are underrepresented, I think we first have to recognize that they're people, which means that they have a soul, they have emotions, they have all kinds of things within them, even traumas of things that they carry that they're bringing with them. And so it's important that we address people on the soul level and get to know them as people. And by understanding them as people and getting to know them for who they are and the things that they've gone through, it'll be easier for us to better, in terms of faculty, better to assist them in the educational goals. So helping them to learn better, because not every learner is an auditorial learner. You have a tactile learner, you have different kinds of learners, but that can only be discovered through you understanding them as a person. What I love about RCCC is that, you know, before I'm asked about how our class is, before I'm asked about how's school going, how's your grades, I'm first asked, how are you doing? And then if I have a relationship with that faculty member or staff member, it's how's your family doing? How's everything going in school and things of that nature? So I definitely believe that in order to understand these students who are being underrepresented, we first have to understand them as people and get to know them for who they are so that we can better educate them as students.
Thank you, Haywood. So if I'm hearing everyone correctly over the past few questions, it's seeming like faculty and staff, one, needs to take the time to get to know students as an individual, as a holistic individual. Also sounds like some of the faculty and staff need to be aware of some of their own personal bias. We all come with some form of bias, but being able to recognize it and understand it, and then not being taken aback when it's addressed, because it's a learning tool, it's a learning process. And then also being able to reinforce and respect, you know, everyone's culture and how we grew up, where we are in our point of life, and being able to understand the cultural differences and being able to agree to disagree on a situation. Also, what I'm gathering from what everyone has said thus far is culturally responsive engagement is an approach that faculty and staff can use to empower you, not just, you know, academically, but intellectually, socially, emotionally, and even politically, allowing you to be able to have your voice heard and be able to feel like you have a seat at a table and be able to express yourselves without any form of repercussions and without you feeling uncomfortable or like you feeling that you've done something wrong. Did I summarize that correctly?
Oh, yes.
Haywood, you have something else?
Yes. And you know, I think also it's important that, you know, of course, the students also need to be addressed when they're wrong, but also faculty as well, like you pointed out, because I also recently, and I didn't know that this was going to happen to me, but recently I encountered a faculty member who had some pride and some arrogance. And it's not the first time the faculty member has shown that. It's been since the beginning of the semester, but yeah, I'm a grace giving person, so I don't really like conflict of that way. But it was directly hit towards me when the faculty member called me out without calling me out, if you will, on a situation where I just needed the help and clarification, and it was not given. And the faculty member was very adamant of becoming prideful and showing that they are educating this area and educating that area, forgetting that, once again, as I said, that we are students. And so we don't understand this subject like you do, because you've gone through great miles to receive your education, which we are proud of and which we know you can do. But at the same time, in order to properly engage with us, as you said, to properly educate us, that understanding of who we are as people needs to be there.
Thank you, Haywood. Raymond, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, I did want to add into Jarissa's point. You know, I'm glad that you're breaking the cycle for your family. because when your children, when it's time for them to go to college, if they have any experiences that you have experienced, like that homework anxiety, the test anxiety, or some days they just don't have the mental energy, you know what they're experiencing because you experienced it yourself. One thing about breaking the cycle is sometimes our parents or family, they just see us as students, and like Haywood said, we're all human at the same time. So they don't understand, hey, outside of school, I'm still dealing with relationships, I'm still dealing with jobs and everything. So sometimes I'm gonna be drained. So it's time for your children to go, they can definitely relate to you. So that is great, you're breaking the cycle, and we're proud of you.
Yes. So we're gonna not try to change the gears, but I do want to ask both Mr. Banks, Ms. Dunn, and Ms. Mendez the same question that was asked of Mr. Haynes. How would you encourage faculty, staff, and the college community environment as a whole to better assist, historically underrepresented students in the future? Thinking about you, putting you in the mind, if you were the advocate for the next generation or the next semester, the next year of students coming here to Rowan-Cabarrus, how would you encourage faculty and staff to better assist you?
Well, frankly, we all have different backgrounds. We're all raised differently. We all come from different kinds of households, everything from our age differences or what may have you. For me, being what you say, a strong, independent woman, a single parent, full-time student, it means the world to have that support system, to have someone to talk to when I'm burnt out, to have, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, for the most part, we have all the tools. It's more or less about letting the students know that we have the tools. That's one thing that I could say, because when I was just fully virtual, I knew nothing about what the campus had to offer. And I think it's really sad that our advertising is that bad. Nobody really knows what we have. I personally would volunteer to try to help get the information out there for students. I'm more or less a RCCC advocate. Anything that there is to offer, I'm trying to pull students in on events, on resources that we have, whatever there is. But my engagement is based on how active I am. When I wasn't active, I didn't care about any of that. All I cared about was, let me get these grades. Now that I'm here and I see everything, it makes me want to be more engaged and get other people more engaged as well.
I'm going to add to what Nadine had to say. It is important for a college to see that there are different type of people here, different cultures represented, which I'm proud of. I will be the first to say I'm proud of how our CCC looks like, what we look like as students. But I will say I am a non-traditional student, which means I'm completely online. That just works best with my crazy schedule. But I will say, I had a circumstance where I was part of a group and I felt like I was put on the back burner for the students who are actually in the school. And that was very heartbreaking for me because I was like, I'm lost. I'm first gen. I don't know what I'm doing. With that being said, I reached out to a couple people and I said, listen, I don't know what's going on. Can you help me? And these people, instead of saying, well, reach out to so-and-so, or it's almost like playing phone tag with people. They were like, let me find out how I can help you. Let me find the person who you directly need to go to. And it was almost like taking a burden off my shoulders, because I never want for our future generations to feel like they have no escape and they just give up.
Right.
That is one of the biggest things. Like if I need to ask 1,000 questions, I'm going to ask 1,000 questions, but I'm going to get the answer somehow. But I think that's for our future generations, just keeping that in mind, and keeping in mind, like, college has not been for everyone. College was not for my family. We could not afford it. I had a circumstance where I had someone who I was speaking to from the college, and they were like, yeah, I bet your parents didn't go past elementary. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And it was very offensive. They probably thought it was a joke, but for me, it was very offensive because our parents did cross burdens and cross mountains to get us to where we're at, which is the American dream. And so it was very heartbreaking to hear that and to see that. So just to consider what is being said. It might not even be in a malicious way, but the way it comes across and to whom you're speaking to, it's just very important to keep that in consideration.
Thank you, Jarissa. That was a very powerful message that you just said. Raymond, did you have any additional comments you would like to add?
Well, just like Ms. Dunn and Ms. Mendez, I at first was an all online student. I did have one class right before COVID, but it was at 8 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays. So I didn't feel any rapport with the staff or any with the students because there's nothing to grow with when you're a full-time online student. And when you're a full-time online student, you don't know about resources. You don't know about the food pantry. You don't know about the scholarships. Even if the emails are sent, you don't know about the classes for logistics. You don't know all the secrets about the campus that can really benefit you until you become an on-campus student. Even if you come to campus one day part-time, you have more rapport with the campus and staff compared to an online student. And yes, I get it. Sometimes socializing in person is more personable than doing it online, but it's just that disconnect sometimes. And when you ask for help online, sometimes teachers are busy. So you don't get a response for 3 business days. So if you email them on Friday, you might not get a response until Tuesday or Wednesday. So I can further set you back at times versus doing it on campus. You can go to the door. If you're brave, you can go to the door and they may give you an answer depending on your rapport status with them. Now, what can staff do? I know, especially the teachers, they have went through plenty of years of college, but not every student is the same. They don't have to learn their topics much anymore, but they gotta learn more about the students. They have to learn more about the social side, especially as times going by with the pandemic, different demographics are coming in. They have to learn the students. We have to learn from them the subject, and they have to learn from us how to interact with us. Every semester, they always have to learn more students. And some staff are doing that. Some aren't, but some who are trying, and I do appreciate that.
Thank you, Raymond. We do have a question in the chat, and that question is from Douglas, and the question is, based on your experience, how can a school make it easier for first-generation students to navigate the system?
Thank you so much for the question. I think as the way it can make it easier is, I think for me, just putting myself in those shoes, walking back into our CCC as a first gen, again, it would be just telling the student, hey, listen, these are the avenues you can go. These are your resources. If any problem, this is a direct person you can go to. You have, for example, I didn't know that we had a college transfer week. That was awesome. But I did not know about it because once again, first gen over here had no idea until a day before the deadline. And I applied to one. Whereas had I known or had that been advocated for a little bit more, I would have been able to apply to other colleges. And it all boils down to the communication between the student and staff. I think if that is just, as soon as you enroll, you tell them, hey, this is timelines. This is a calendar with the timelines. This is what you can see. I think that's a great start. I'm not saying it fixes it, but it's a great start for our future first gen students, especially with scholarships and financial aid. I had no idea how that worked. I just knew that was the word that popped up until I spoke with our financial aid advisors and they cleared that up for me. So that was amazing.
Thank you. Did anybody else want to add, provide any feedback? So we do have another question that's in the chat. And that question is, how do we, faculty and staff, get the word out to students about services. This individual works in a library, and they have so many services that many students don't know about. But they don't know what students are paying attention to. So I guess this is more of a communication question. How would you like to be communicated about the different services and events? Because sometimes emails can be overwhelming because you're getting emails from your professors, you're getting the emails from financial aid, you're getting the emails from this person, from that person. So how would that look like for you to be able to get all the information and the services that you need? What's the best way to communicate that?
To be totally honest, for me, like, when I see it everywhere is what makes me know. Like, I get those emails and I might glance over them because it might take a back seat to other emails that might be priority. Like, my instructors may be emailing me. I might have something going on with PTK or some other club I'm a part of. So I might not see some of the emails that have the flyers with the different events on it. But then I hear about them and I see flyers inside school when I'm on campus, and it's like, oh yeah, that's going on. So, so that's how usually it works for me. I see it more than once, or I hear someone talking about it. All of us are different, so I'd say just put it everywhere, anywhere you can think to put it. Email it, make flyers for it, send it to Barb Meidl, because Student Life gets everything out. Like, I'm telling you, usually 9 out of 10 times when I know about something and it's a sure thing and I show up, it's because I heard it from Barb. I'm just saying.
I would like to add to that. I think social media is such a big platform. Social media, I'm talking about, I log into TikTok, Facebook, I'm logging on that. And social media has become something that consumes us, sometimes in an unhealthy way, we may say, but that's how I can see, like, there's an event going on. Like, somebody like, I'm interested in going to so-and-so event. I'm like, oh, there's that event. Let me go ahead and, go to that. Like, it's just, social media plays a big, big role in this, and just kind of getting that into the RCCC as a student comes in and say, hey, if you want to get updated with events, please follow our RCCC page in all social media platforms.
Anybody else like to make a comment on that question? Go ahead.
I currently am in the student life department as a work study. So, all the things that Nadine and Jarissa talked about of the flyers and the social media, we do all that, trying to get the word out. And one thing that I have learned and I've come to be okay with is, even after you've done all that you could, you got to be okay with that you did your best to get the word out there and to spread the word. At the end of the day, once you have presented and put it on the poster boards and you put on social media, it's up to the student then if they will want to come. So I think after you've exhausted all your resources, you got to be willing to be okay with, if they come, they come, and if they don't, they don't. But even if they don't come, we're still going to reach out there to them and try to get these resources out to them. So just be okay with, I've done all that I could, and if they come, they do, and if they don't, I'm still going to reach out to them.
Right. Thank you, Haywood. Before we address any more additional questions in the chat, I do want to kind of wrap this all up before we do like a short Q&A session to kind of close out. But the basis of this conversation came from a professional development done in Student Life Division here at Rowan-Cabarrus Community College called Culturally Responsive Advising and Engagement. And so this culturally responsive advising and engagement framework is centered around creating a student-centered environment and experiences that affirm cultural identities, foster positive relationships and outcomes, and develops the student's ability to connect with others. Whether it's faculty, whether it's staff, whether it's each other, the student with another student. Some of the best practices for culturally responsive engaging with students outside of the conversations that you heard Haywood and Raymond and Nadine and Jarissa mention was to, when you're meeting with a student and you ask a student, you see them out in the hallways, ask them what made them smile today. Like Haywood mentioned previously, You know, he loves it when he has those relationships with those faculty and staff, and they say, the first question is how, you know, what's going on in class? It's how are you? How's your family? How's your mom? You know, did you get tickets? You told me you got tickets to that game last week. How was it? So asking them a question, what made you smile today? Just a simple question. What made you smile today? It allows for us as faculty and staff to humanize our students and to get to know them and to build a relationship with them. It's the difference between being transactional and transformational. These students want to be transformed. They're already great. Let's change them from that little caterpillar to a butterfly. In addition to that is listening to understand, not to reply. Listening to the students and really what they're trying to say, whether it makes us as faculty and staff feel uncomfortable, we still need to be able to listen to them, understand what they're saying, not to just listen to reply. And then asking questions is, in addition to what made you smile today, ask them what makes them feel valued. What's important to them? Yes, their academics is important, but ask them, for Jarissa, for example, she's doing this because she's the first generation college student. She wants to break the barriers. She wants to show her children that they can be, you know, all that they could be. They can already be great. Using effective statements to express your emotions. Effective statements refer to them when you're talking to the students. I hear you, I understand you. What can I do to help you get here? Or what can I help you to make you feel this way? So these are just some of the best practices that here at Rowan-Cabarrus that we're trying to do to help build that better transformational relationship for our students. Did you guys have any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, so we're gonna allow about another 10 minutes for some questions, some Q&As, and Mr. McIntosh has a question, and his question was, what practical recommendations do you have for cultivating a sense of belonging for students? What are barriers to belonging?
I guess, in my opinion, kind of letting them know that, you know, the clubs that we have here are built for you and also by you as well, if that makes sense. Because a lot of students, such as myself, when I came here, I didn't worry about the clubs. I didn't know the clubs existed. But with this semester, once I learned about them or care to learn about them, I realized, wow, there's a lot of student engagement here. And through the student engagement, you meet a lot of great faculty and staff that will help you further your engagement. That's just me, though.
Nadine?
What was the question again?
The question is, what practical recommendations do you have for cultivating a sense of belonging? And what are some barriers you believe that prevent your students from feeling belong?
I heard you though. Everything can create a barrier. There's so many variables. Everything can create a barrier. However, it's all about eliminating them. As Dr. Warren said, listening to understand and not just listening to reply. That's communication is key to all things. So communication is and can be a barrier because people don't communicate effectively at times, or may not communicate effectively at times. For me, I don't know. I just like to stay busy, y'all. So honestly, I just shouldn't have asked me to do this question. I don't know.
Does anybody else have any comments, Jarissa?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest barriers for my person, I will speak on my behalf, is not seeing enough representation of Latin, Hispanic people within like success stories. Like it's within the college, like, you always want to see somebody, and not just say like you're not proud of everyone, but you don't see that much representation for the Latino community. Like seeing somebody, I see Dr. Warren, I want to see a Dr. Lopez or a Dr. Garcia, seeing that representation, because it is so important. Speaking on my behalf, I will say, like, it is almost like you question yourself, can I do it? Can I be the first one to become Dr. Mendez or, lawyer Mendez? You always want to see representation within the school.
And to come behind on that question, I wish I could frame this a different way and to say it differently, but it's almost like building a house without that foundation. It's like I said in the beginning, getting to know that student. And I know for me, as I said, working in the student life department, we have a student lounge here. And what I recognize is that when we created an environment that was inclusive for the students, now them students come Tuesday through Thursday every week, and they are there with me every week. And I see them every week, and they're always there every week because we created that environment for them. And now they are definitely engaged. Some of them have already run for SGA offices. They're going to run next year. Some of them have become work study students because we created that environment for them to where they can come and be a part of something that they feel is bigger than them, and that they also feel like everybody's together. But that also came for me to connect with the students. It also came by getting to know them. I wish I could say it somewhere differently, but it's getting to know those students for who they are and really understanding where they come from, hearing their story. And then once you understand who they are, where they come from, you can create different things around that.
Okay, so we have time for one last question before we do some closing remarks. And the last question is, do you feel we need more representation on the faculty side here or at any school? And can you speak to how that would affect you personally by seeing more people that look like you in the actual classroom?
Yes, I love it. I love this question so much. As I was saying previously, it would be amazing to see more faculty of my color within the school. I think you relate more with them. I think you're able to say, oh, if she can do it, I can do it, or he can do it, I can for sure do it, because these are people who come from my cultural background or, my financial background, and they were able to succeed. I can be another success story. But I almost take it as I will be that success story. I will be what future generations can say, Miss Mendez did it, so can I. And that creates a big impact culturally for any culture here, for anybody here. That is super important. It's affected me personally because I always try to say, I always try to see somebody at a school and be like, hola, and just kind of be able to speak my language and say, listen, how are you? And for them to say, well, listen, just to speak on something that we both can connect from culturally. That would be amazing. But if I don't have that, I will create that. I will be the one.
I would love to see a million more Dr. Warrens walking around, okay? She's awesome. But the same thing I get from her, I get from Barb. For me, it doesn't matter what your cultural background is. You can relate to someone based off life experiences, and your cultural background may not have anything to do with that. Just because we came from two different places don't mean we haven't seen the same kind of things. So for me, being like a melting pot of races, I like to see a melting pot of people. I want to see everybody together. And to me, that's the beauty of things. I'm used to being around a bunch of Black people. I don't want to see that all day. I'm just being honest. Excuse me for how I said it, but I'm just being honest. I do not want to see that when I go on campus. That's not the only thing I want to see. It's a beautiful thing to see someone trying to grow or see those people help others try to grow. But the expectation for me is the same for everyone.
Okay, so I'm gonna build off what Nadine said. Our RCCC, the staff, we have a lot of variety. We have some staff that really came from nothing. Then we have some staff that came from everything. So RCCC as a student, you kind of have a choice of who relates to you. Like there's one or two faculty members that share the same interest as me, and they came up in a similar way. So we have a great rapport. And here at RCCC, I love to see a melting pot, like Nadine said. I like to see different cultures, because if you only see one culture, then you tend to only think one way. Well, especially in this country, that's just not how it is. This is a melting pot, quote unquote. We have a lot of cultures, and you get to learn a lot more experiences as well. So I like the representation we have. Like I like to see the Dr. Warrens that are young and successful, but then I also like to see the Barb Meidls as well, who are a little older and successful as well. But listen up, there's no problem with that. And there's no problem with that, because we want to see that age one day. Yes. But I want to be successful at that age. So I like the cultural gaps. I like the age gaps. I like the economic gaps. And I did not expect RCC to have this variety, because if you know Rowan, if you know Cabarrus County, historically and stereotypically, it's not viewed as a melting pot in comparison to Charlotte. So when I was able to see this here in comparison to CPCC, it surprised me, but I loved it. You know, people sleep on the school, but hey. RCC.
Okay, thank you guys so much for the authentic, raw, and real conversations. They need to be had. And so here at Rowan-Cabarrus, we encourage our students to come and have these raw and realistic conversations with us. So thank you for everyone for attending and participating in the student panel discussion. Do it for the culture. We're going to be doing it for the culture for years to come. And we look forward to seeing everyone here next year, and enjoy the remainder of the conference.
Before y'all check out, I did want to say thank you to all of the students who have volunteered to be here today. They showed up, they practiced, and they shared their authentic selves. And I think the relationship that we've built with them is evident, and they shared not just the good, but the bad. And so I want to thank all of you personally for accepting the invitation and putting yourself out there to be honest and real with me individually, even if you called me seasoned, Raymond. However, we really appreciate it. And I know the over 50 participants left with some type of nugget. Yes, Haywood, over 50 people. So thank you all for being here and being real today.
Thank you for having us, Ms. Barb.
Thank you. This has been a great opportunity. This has been great. Thank you.